The obvious question, it seems to me, is 20 years after the end of the Cold War, and therefore something of a receding of immediate concern on the nuclear weapons question, how do you and the Council, how do you keep the pressure on? How do you keep the eye on the ball when it comes to making sure this question is not, these issues are not lost in public and indeed among the policy community?
It's certainly a challenge. A lot depends on who's president and what the direction of the executive branch is. Under President George W. Bush, there was little interest in nuclear weapons issues and certainly little interest in treaties. And that's why, in some ways, the organization changed some of its focus to the Iraq War, which in many ways was the predominant national security issue at the time. But at this point, we have a president, Barack Obama, who's very interested in nuclear weapons. He said so during the campaign. He was in the U.S. Senate, and particularly in the kinds of things he's done this year. A president can use his bully pulpit, as we say from Teddy Roosevelt days, to educate the American public, to make an issue in the U.S. Congress, within his own executive branch, and across the globe. And I think President Obama has done that, first with his major speech on nuclear weapons issues, in which he called for a world free of nuclear weapons back in April in 2009, in his speech in Prague. Then he got one Security Council endorsement of a world free of nuclear weapons. And there are a whole series of events and negotiations and other steps that he's called for that will keep the issue front and center, at least in the executive branch. Now, if you're talking about public opinion, people certainly aren't as worried about nuclear weapons issues as they were when I was growing up, when there were a lot of nuclear test explosions, when people were concerned about a nuclear war between the United States and the Soviet Union, and when kids ducked under their desks to hide from a nuclear blast effect. That's still a challenge for groups like ours. But there's executive branch interest, some interest in Congress, and some in the public.